So I want to start with a question for you. When you look in the mirror, what do you see? What are you thinking about? Or, yeah, or when you pass the magazine aisle at the grocery store or at the drugstore and you see the cover of Elle or Men's Health, how does it make you feel? Or even, I want you to think about the last time somebody took a picture of you. Maybe it was like a casual photo that you're going to post on Instagram. Or maybe it was actually a professional portrait that you're having done by a professional photographer. What were the things you were thinking about your body? What were you trying to hide or not show or maybe accentuate? These are the questions that I thought about when I created an art show called BodyThoughts. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about today. So it's a couple days until the show, and I'm on the way to the photo lab to pick up the prints, 6 large-scale images of my body, photographs I've taken of myself, self-portraits. And I'm a little bit nervous because I don't know how prepared I am to see not so much my naked body, but my body blown up. I see my naked body, it's mine. But my body blown up in a print that is 40 inches by 60 inches. And to give you a point of reference, that's about the size of a movie poster. So I walk up the stairs and I see the lab technician, and he's beginning to unroll the images. I'm excited, I'm terrified, but there's one image I'm specifically anticipating seeing, and that's a picture of my back. In the process of choosing 6 from hundreds of pictures that I had taken of myself, I knew I had to include this picture in the show. Because this portrait of my back has a personal story attached to it that I've had for a long time, and I've never really talked about it. Now I'm clearly talking about it. So that's all over. I was always kind of ashamed that I had this story. I felt it was kind of silly. But I thought if I included this picture in the show, it would, once and for all, I would reveal this part of myself, and that insecurity would lose its power. I thought I could retell this story, and it was an opportunity to shift my perspective in the face of my fear. So in this picture is wrapped the story I've carried since I was about 8 years old, when a little girl in dance class tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Alexa, why do you have hair on your back?" I know. So at 8, I'd never really seen or known anything about this part of my body. And in an instant, I became ashamed, and I felt different and gross and ugly. Now, I wonder if you've had one of these moments. Maybe it wasn't in dance class, but maybe it was in the locker room or in the schoolyard, or maybe even as an adult. I think we still all have moments like this as an adult. So think about that for a second. So as the photographs are being rolled out, I see this image for the first time. And my reaction is so much different than I expected. I wasn't horrified, I wasn't ashamed. My immediate reaction was actually that I really loved this picture. It was instantly my favorite, which is kind of funny because I, have this ridiculous story about this part of my body, and I do this dramatic thing, and then my feeling is, oh, it's not so bad. I kind of like this picture. Objectively, when I look at this picture and the other 5, I see beauty and honesty, I see comfort and a real body. Skin and hair and cellulite and rolls and stretch marks, all the things we're all familiar with. All the imperfections we're all familiar with. So I begin to fall in love with these images and the woman in them. And the thing that I had been so worried about for so long actually dulls in comparison to the importance of showing the honesty. So as we're packing up the photos for me to take away, the technician says to me, "I retouched some of the images." I know. So I was silent and in shock because this is not something I had asked him to do. So I proceeded to ask him, what did you change? And he said he removed some ingrown hairs from the back of my legs in the previous photo that you saw, and he dulled the peach fuzz on my back. That's what he called it, peach fuzz. It's like, yeah, it's still hair. It's not. Okay. So he said, this is usually what people want. They usually ask me to do this. And I think now it's important for me to say, I want you to know, he didn't ruin the show, and he's not the villain. What he did, I think, is interesting because it's not so much that he changed the image. I still showed all the things that I had wanted to show. There was still hair, still stretch marks, still all those things. But I think what's so interesting is that I wanted to understand and investigate, why did he feel like he had to do that when I didn't ask him to? Because his intentions actually were good. He thought he was being helpful, and he was kind of proud to tell me what he had done. And I think that's because the reality is we live in a retouch culture. We live in a culture where we're actually not used to seeing real bodies. And that's what I want to change. So unlike many other photographers I know, I didn't seriously pick up a camera until I was almost 20. I was in my third year of my undergraduate degree, and I was studying sociology and psych. I was learning about all of the reasons and environmental factors that make people and groups of people healthy or not. And I really loved this. I loved learning. I continued my academic studies and finished a master's degree in public health. And when I was done, I got a municipal government job. And on the side, I started working as a second photographer. So those very early years with my very first camera, a Canon Rebel T1i and a 50mm lens, were when I fell in love with photography. To me, photography was all about creative expression and storytelling. And its power lies in its ability to make you, the viewer, feel something, and to capture moments that we honestly would not remember otherwise. For example, this is Megan on her wedding day, and this is the first time that her dad saw her in her gown. And this is about 20 minutes after her and Vitor just exchanged vows and got married. So a photograph has the power to make other people feel the weight of the thing that you've captured. I became deeply inspired by other female photographers like Sally Mann and Annie Leibovitz. And I would spend all my free time not at the office, browsing blogs, buying books, and studying what these women did to get to where they are today. So eventually I started having my own clients, and they were primarily women and girls, brides, dancers, couples, engaged or on their wedding day. And I quickly observed something that really bothered me. Almost every time a woman was in front of my camera, I would hear her say things about her body. And it was really normal. This was like a normal thing. I mean, I know because I'm a woman and I have a body and I have these thoughts, but I was shocked. And I was really unprepared to deal with the negative self-talk. It was really rare that I wouldn't have a female client provide a commentary to me. I also found it really interesting that men said almost nothing. And I know that's not because you don't have thoughts or ideas or thoughts about your body, but I found it really interesting that they wouldn't share those things out loud. I wonder if you were to share those things, what they would be. But with women, I ended up feeling more like a counselor than a photographer. And I realized that the way my subjects saw themselves was not how I saw them. I would have clients ask me if I could Photoshop their stomach. I had one client, this beautiful woman, tell me that there was one side of her face that was better and I should shoot that side of her face. And she had actually been told that. She modeled briefly in Toronto, and a photographer actually told her that, and that's what she remembered forever. So I started contemplating and reflecting about what my job actually was as a photographer. At the end of the day, clients pay me. They give me their money to take pictures of them. And in any other job, your job is to make your clients happy. But I started to wonder, how far should I go? And at what point can I draw the line and say no? And I did, a lot of times. So while I was contemplating all these things, all the reasons I had loved photography and storytelling, they began to fall away. I felt really discouraged and confused and frustrated. And I couldn't quite figure out how to make my clients happy while remaining, in my opinion, an ethically sound human being. This dilemma had me step back from photography for about a year. But it also inspired me to want to talk about what I was feeling and hearing. And during that time, for the first time, I actually thought, hey, my background in health gives me a unique lens to speak out and do something about this. I wondered if I could connect those two worlds, my background in health and my current job as a photographer. So now I want to ask you another question, and I want to go back to the question I asked at the beginning. I want you to think about the process you went through today, getting ready in whatever outfit you're wearing, to come here with all these people. Why did you choose that outfit? Did you change? Did you change your pants or your shirt? And think again about that question I asked you about how you feel when you're having your photograph taken, and what you're trying to hide or show or accentuate, or not show at all. So you probably don't even notice them anymore, but whatever thoughts you're having about your body, they're there all the time. Sometimes body thoughts are positive, other times body thoughts are negative, and I would even argue that a lot of times body thoughts can be oppressive. Like, for example, the thoughts that I had about my back. This thought and this insecurity had me act in a way that I wasn't free. I wouldn't wear dresses with an open back. Every time I was in a bathing suit, I would just cover my back with my long hair. And in relationships, I even shielded this part of myself. And being a side sleeper, this was very, very annoying. So to explore this idea, the idea that body thoughts are oppressive, I created a multimedia art show. This show is made up of those same 6 large-scale portraits that I picked up from the photo lab. And when you walked in the room, you were greeted with 2 cue cards, one that had a question and one for you to write down your own thoughts. You're also given a set of headphones and a link to an audio interview of me free speaking about my experience in my own body. Ultimately, the BodyThoughts art show was a way for me to use my body and my thoughts as an artist to bring other people into an experience that would get them to start thinking and become aware of their own thoughts about their own body. Okay, so I wouldn't feel like this talk was complete if I didn't give you your own mini BodyThoughts experience. It's really something that's meant to be felt subjectively. So I'm going to play you some audio from the show. We're going to dim the lights. And if you'd like, you can close your eyes. These are my body thoughts. What are yours?
Maybe not happen to my body, but watching my aunt die of cancer was an extremely humbling experience. Like, our bodies are really amazing. Like, we get to be alive because we have them. It's so cool. And whenever I come back to that and I think about being with her at that time, I think about how lucky I am to have a body. And I just want to eat all the food I can eat and enjoy all the things I can enjoy with my body and do all the things that my body gets to do and spend 0 time hating it. Just being really, really grateful that I get to have it for this short time. I think that's the thing, is we spend a lot of time thinking about what we should say or what I should look like, what I should think about my body, how it should be. And this has been really cool because I get to just show up. But I started taking pictures of myself, and I was like, oh, I think I look okay. Whereas the other day, I was having a really good day. I was really happy, and I took pictures, and it was hard to look at those pictures. Like, it was like, oh, there's a lot of fat on my stomach. That's what my stomach looks like sometimes. And today I'm feeling really emotional, and I just have to go with it because that's just honest. That's just what's happening today. It's really liberating to not worry about like, oh, I gotta tuck that little roll in so nobody sees it.
So I really know how oppressive body thoughts can feel. And despite the unintentional actions of that little girl in dance class or the man at the photo lab, I've slowly but surely been able to see myself and my work differently. And I actually found that the thing I had abandoned in the first place, photography, was the tool that saved me. I just had to take a step back, switch sides, use my voice, and ultimately shift my perspective. I really never expected to have this opportunity, and that's the opportunity to give this experience and my art away to you. And now you have the opportunity to do the same. My hope is that you got something for yourself out of listening. I don't know what that is, but I hope it's encouraging or uplifting or maybe just comforting. What did hearing my body thoughts bring up for you? Thank you.